So glad you're with us on the Retirement Compass. Brad Johansen with Tim Kulhanek and Jeremy Gove, Stonebridge Wealth Systems. It is always a pleasure to be on set with you guys. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I'd like to make this consistent, but we'd like to make everything in life consistent. And yet we know, especially as we start moving later on in life becomes a lot more inconsistent. So I'm going to spend a bunch of time on this show on the inconsistencies of life and how we figure out in retirement to create some consistencies where we can adjust to the change going on. For most of us, 65 is what number? That's when I'm going to retire. I mean, that's what we've been told. You retire at 65. This is how it works. But life isn't quite like that anymore. Many people are having to retire a little bit later. But right now, because the way the economy is working, the way companies are working, you may not get to 65, and it may not be your choice. We're going to talk about some of those inconsistencies, what we do about that, if you are one of those people who are in this situation of what's going to happen next. Tim, I want to talk about, I suppose you can go into some statistics because shoot, in your area, we've had some change, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
How common is now what I would call forced retirement? Because it was supposed to be our choice when we retire. Mm-hmm. For a lot of us, it's not anymore.
6 out of 10, it's not, I would say. In fact, a recent study from Transamerica said that 58% of retirees are retiring before they had planned. I think the average age of retirement is around 62, the median age. Most people plan to work until at least 65 for one main reason, which is what?
Health insurance.
Healthcare,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk as we go through the show today on some of the consequences of these early retirements, and healthcare is going to be a big one that we hit on. But the thing that I noticed in the statistics that we were mentioning, only 21% of people who retired early did so because they wanted to and they felt prepared. So we're talking about a scenario where 4 out of 5 are feeling a little bit unsettled about where things are at.
Those are bad numbers.
Yeah, they really are.
The unsettlement starts to move into, most of us are doing this with partners, hoping that we're doing this with partners and want to retire with partners for the rest of our lives, and trying to do it in a time frame to make it consistent so that we can enjoy what a lot of times we'll say our go-go years. Let's do this together.
Yeah.
And yet we haven't figured into, you talked about medical, let's go beyond medical because it's death of a spouse, Jeremy. I want to lead into that because we don't like to talk about this, but that's a consistency. Father Time gets us all, and we don't know when that's going to happen for us.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, we don't know. But that is one of the most devastating financial shocks to any retiree. And so it's as Tim mentioned, it's far more common than we think about. But according to research, 70% of married women will be widowed. So that's a pretty high number. The average age of widowhood in America is 59 years old.
59 years old.
Yeah, and we just talked about wanting to retire when we're 65, right? Because of health insurance. So if we're widowed at 59, that's the average in the United States. More than 50% of women that are widowed by age 75, and 25% of men by age 75 would be widowed. So it's definitely a problem, and it's something that we need to address or have a plan for. A 2024 study, actually by Thrivent, found that 51% of widowed women are living paycheck to paycheck, or they're struggling to manage their bills. And 41% of those women said they had no financial plan in place before their spouse passed away. Research at the Federal Reserve level said that a widow's income drops by 35% after her husband's death. If you think about that, if you were to take a pay cut of 35%, what does that do to you? How do you pay your mortgage? If you have a mortgage, how do you pay your property taxes? There's a lot of expenses that could potentially go unpaid. But there's another problem with this, and it's not just our expenses go up. And we have a slide that we can pull up, and we talk about taxes. And there's a lot going on in this slide, so I don't want to belabor on it too much. But if you look at the left side, married filing jointly, the income's $100,000, the tax bracket's 12%.
Okay.
As a single filer or as a widower, my income would be $75,000 in this example, but my tax bracket goes up to 22%. So I have less income, I have more of a tax bill, which means I'm gonna have less money to take home and pay my bills with, right? And so we can see that that's a pretty significant problem, and it's one that most financial advisors aren't talking about. And so there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. One of the biggest things is that I have found in our offices as we're meeting with clients is a lot of times we're meeting with the husband. We're not meeting with both the husband and wife. And
Because he says, I'm dealing with the money. She doesn't need to worry about this.
Yeah, or she's not interested.
Has no interest.
She has no interest. She might come to the first meeting or the second meeting, and then, he's got it. I trust you guys. He's got it. We'll take care of it. And I'm actually meeting more of those guys that are do-it-yourselfers.
Yeah,
There's a lot of those guys, engineers or
Sure.
doctors. And what they're actually starting to realize that this is a problem. And so they actually are making their wife come in. They're not necessarily looking for advice yet, but they want to know that they have somebody that their wife could go to if that unfortunate event did happen earlier than expected.
I hate the what if game. When I met my wife, man, she loved what if. She's a math teacher.
Yeah.
She's a what if person kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have now become a what if person because all of this becomes a ripple effect or dominoes. So the older you get and trying to figure this whole thing out, what if this happens and how does it fit my plan or affect my plan? Or do I have a plan if this what if starts to happen? We got to worry about ripple effects all the time now.
A lot of things that come to mind. It's not just a forced into early retirement or loss of a spouse. They both have a similar impact. So let's say I retire at 61 instead of 65.
Okay.
Right? So I lose 4 additional years of saving. I could have retired 60 or saved for 62, 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
Well, if I was making 90,000, I'm doing the Dave Ramsey thing and saving 15% of my income. There's 13.5 that's not going in the 401k. I'm missing my 5% match. There's another 4,500. There's $18,000 a year that didn't go in at 7%. That's about $80,000 of growth I would have had.
That's quick math, my friend.
That I did. I did it totally off the top of my head. Just like your wife.
I love it. She can do that.
She's been following along,
Yeah,
right?
that's right,
It's like,
yeah.
I'd get along with her. But you see what I'm saying, right? Is it's not just the lost savings, it's the fact that I started drawing 4 years earlier as well. And I wasn't prepared to do that. Then let's get into the healthcare side real quick, shall we?
Please.
So this is fun. I looked this up last night in Douglas County. That's where Omaha is, right? All of our folks that are familiar with the Nebraska county map, there's a lot of counties in Nebraska. In Douglas County, a bronze plan for a couple making $75,000 would be free. It just doesn't cover anything, really. It's just $20,000 max out of pocket.
That's why it's free.
Yeah. A gold plan, this blew my mind. They range from $800 a month for that couple up to $3,000 a month for that couple. Who has planned for that consistency? Most people probably haven't.
Well, what have you planned for is the question. This is a ripple effect on what ifs. And if you haven't started the what if, or if you've just been in the accumulation phase for a long time with your advisor who says you don't need to worry about all of this stuff for a while. When's a while? And when would you like to understand what the ripple effect is going to be if your retirement isn't your choice? 866-256-7778. This considers all the dominoes. And maybe you're not sure where they begin. How about dealing with people, if you are a do-it-yourselfer, people who've been doing this for decades, hundreds and thousands of times? Wouldn't you like someone to help? It's complimentary to put together a financial plan that is yours and yours alone. I mean, what if? 866-256-7778. We have so much more to talk about. Stay with us. Back after this.
If you think about the average American consumer, we don't talk about financial topics very often. And so we spend a lot of time at Stonebridge doing educational seminars and different things that are free of charge. If you're not educated in a topic, how do you make educated decisions? When you're working with a client, you're sitting down with them, they're a little stressed out, but after you go through the process and you really take time to educate them on not only what we're doing for them, but why we're doing it, that really gives them peace of mind, and you can see the weight just kind of drops. And when they leave, I hear all the time,
I really should have done this years ago. But sometimes there's a fear that somebody might try to sell us something. If the things that I can provide, if you don't want, don't need, or can't use those, I've got some good news for you. We're not going to sell them to you. We are fulfilling our fiduciary duty of putting their interests ahead of our own. Imagine not having to face your retirement journey with the same old corporate solutions as everyone else. In these economic times, you deserve a fresh perspective that includes a personalized income plan and a tax map from an independent fiduciary advisor whose focus is on you. Call the number you see here to schedule your complimentary review.
So glad you are with us on the Retirement Compass. Brad Johansen, along with Tim and Jeremy. Stonebridge Wealth Systems. We're talking a lot about the what if, the inconsistencies of life, and trying to figure out how we navigate all of this. What you're going to navigate, and I know is going to be one of the biggest hurdles that you have in retirement, is taxes. And we're going to deal with a bunch of those. Jeremy kind of touched on it in the first segment. I'm going to have this up for you to be able to do, because we put this on programs before, stonebridgetaxbill.com. You can scan the QR code to be able to do this. Why do I need to do this now? What if? The taxes moving forward, you have to have a plan for. And I apologize, because once you see the number that you have here, what am I putting in? The money that I put aside, what I've been told to do, this is money that's qualified. Qualified for what? Qualified for more taxes, because you have deferred the taxes on it. What does Uncle Sam want you to pay now? What does he want to pay on RMDs? Pass it on to the next generation, and the solutions that you may have. This is eye-opening for you, because I want to talk some solutions. We'll leave this up for you to scan the QR code there. Jeremy, I lose my job unexpectedly in my 50s or my 60s. Never planned for it. If you're raising this red flag for me, lead me into the path of some solutions for what I'm supposed to do if this starts to happen.
So I think a lot of the people that we work with are in their mid 50s, early 50s to all the way through the rest of their life. And so the thing that I would suggest that you do right now, if you're not already working with us or a financial advisor, that's one of the first things that you should do, because you want to know where you're at today. One of the gentlemen that I met with, I asked him, when are you going to retire? He said, I'm on the OBDA plan. I had never heard that before. He said, I'm one bad day away.
Yeah.
So if my boss ticks me off, I'm one bad day away and I'm out. But he knew he knew he could retire. So if he lost his job, he already had that peace of mind, right? That's why he said, I'm OBDA. Yeah. But for those people that haven't done that and you lose your job, we just need to take a deep breath. We don't ever want to make decisions out of fear or when we're very, very anxious. And we need to consult people that know and can help us. So first, take a deep breath. The shock is normal. There's going to be a lot of emotions that you're going to go through. You're going to be angry. How could this company do this to me? I've worked for them for 30 years. Or, for whatever reason, maybe it's a health issue that you can't work anymore. But take a deep breath. And there's concrete steps that you can take. One is assess your severance. If you're losing your job because the plant is closing down or they're closing your line down, there's going to be some sort of severance. So we want to dig into that. What is the severance? What are you entitled to? What does that look like? And then the next thing is you're going to probably want to file for unemployment immediately, just so you can get that going. It can take up to 20 days for them to, or potentially up to 21 weeks for them to analyze that and actually start sending you unemployment if that's something that you should be entitled to. Address the health insurance. We've talked about that a lot. You know, if you're not 65 or older and you're not already signed up for Medicare, then you may want to enroll in COBRA, which is really expensive, but at least you have your insurance for, you have 60 days, I guess, from the time you lose your job to get on COBRA. Alternatively, check the health insurance marketplace. Tim talked about that a little bit with, you know, the cost of healthcare. It's expensive. The biggest thing is don't make rash decisions. Don't raid your retirement account right away. I have a gal that I met with. She lost her job. She was working at Eaton's. They were closing this line down in Kearney, and they're moving it to somewhere in Texas. And she was in a panic. She had no idea if she could retire, what to even do. And when we sat down, we just started laying this out, asking her questions. And you could tell that the relief was starting to set in. Yeah. I'm in the right place. These guys know what they're doing. I just got to answer, you know, and bring in some statements and do that. And so we want to also reevaluate our claiming strategy for Social Security. Maybe our plan was to wait till 70, but maybe now we may want to reevaluate that.
Okay.
And so those are the typical things. The last thing that I would probably say is cut discretionary spending. The money that if I have Netflix or other programs that I don't really need to live, let's go ahead and cut those right now so we can stop that. And then maybe we add them back once we get going.
$10 for coffee every morning may not be necessary at this point. Still working, Tim. Mm-hmm. So let's, because most who are watching are saying, okay, maybe I am one bad day away. If I'm still working, how do I plan for this what if now if I'm going?
I had never heard that. I'm going to use that again.
Heck
OBDA,
yeah.
That's awesome. It almost just goes back to basics. You know, the things that we all tacitly know, but just kind of block out because it's like, I don't like rules. You know? So I should have an emergency fund. Don't spend more than I make. Don't use plastic for buy now, pay later. It should be pay now, enjoy later. Delayed gratification.
Gotcha.
Goes back to the marshmallow test, right?
Yep.
And the success that you have by learning how to do those things. So it's having a robust financial plan. But the other thing that I want to come back to, because again, I think that we've talked about that a lot on the show. There's things you can do. There's catch-up contributions for putting money into your 401k. There's super catch-up contributions. When you call our office and come in and visit with one of our experienced advisors, we're going to go over all those different specific solutions that are tailored to your unique financial situation. But I want to talk just real briefly about something Jeremy said. And it was talking about how a lot of times when folks come in, they call the number, they say, I want to come in and see you guys. I subconsciously, they knew that something was going on. That's why this program's still on the TV screen right now, right?
Yeah.
And only one of them shows up for the meeting, and oftentimes if it's a couple, it's the male. And I think we got to change that. I had a gal in my office recently, and sweet little old lady, she's in her late 80s now, and one of my first clients I had 16 years ago, okay? And every time she comes in, she goes, Tim, can you believe I'm gonna be 87 years old, or however she's gonna turn that year? And we talk about her grandkids, her great-grandkids, her friends from back in Gothenburg. But she told me one time, she said, Tim, I so appreciate your help, but if I had one piece of advice that I could give to you, it would be, don't allow the wives and the relationships and the couples that you provide service to, and the couples that you are shepherding through retirement, don't allow them to check out. Don't allow them to not be an active participant in this process. She's been widowed twice, okay? The first time was over 25 years ago. She said, when my first husband died, I didn't even know where we had bank accounts. I didn't know where anything was at. Safety deposit box, no idea. How do you open it? There must be a key somewhere. I knew nothing. And it was crisis management when it could have been a methodical plan. I want you to know, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to feel like you're an air traffic controller trying to navigate all these different planes safely onto your financial airfield when the pilots are all from different airlines and they all speak a different language because it feels like the rules are against you. The game is rigged. A lot of times those are the types of sentiments that we hear from folks, and it doesn't have to be that way. Our team at Stonebridge, our experienced advisors, we are your fiduciary guides to all things retirement. When you come in, we go through the Retirement Compass process. We focus on the 5 key areas of planning: income, investment, tax, healthcare, and legacy. The Retirement Compass isn't a product you buy. I want to be very clear. It's a process that you engage with. It's a filter through that we run all of the questions you have, the dilemmas that you've experienced, the roadblocks you're facing financially. We run it through this filter and allows us to answer questions like, when can I retire? How much can I confidently spend every month? And how do I engage with my money in a way that allows me to enjoy it and not feel guilty or punished? Most advisors want to manage your money, but that's not really the job of a fiduciary, holistic advisor. You've already done most of the work of growing your nest egg and accumulating resources. What our job is to help you manage decisions, especially the ones that you don't even realize you're going to have to make. I invite you to give us a call today to start down that path with one of our experienced advisors.
Isn't that the goal? To have somebody that is going to take you all the way through? Hey, I'm going to be 87, 88. Hey, I'm going to be 9. This is the process that you want, and somebody that you want with you. And maybe it's just time for a second opinion because this sounds different than what you've heard before. 866-256-7778. Ready to make the plan? Be right back.
Have you ever taken your family out to dinner and been shocked at how expensive the tax bill was? Well, guess what? Right now in the United States, there are around $37 trillion in tax-qualified retirement accounts like pensions, 401ks, and IRAs, and the vast majority of those dollars have never been taxed. Hi, I'm Jeremy Gove, partner and financial advisor at Stonebridge Wealth Systems, and I want to take a moment today to have you think about how much money you have saved in tax-deferred retirement accounts. Did you know that not all of that money is yours? That's right. When you put money into an IRA or 401k, that is like going into partnership with the IRS. At Stonebridge Wealth Systems, we have created a free online tax calculator to show you what you could pay in future taxes on your retirement accounts. Go to stonebridgetaxbill.com or scan the QR code below. That's stonebridgetaxbill.com.
Grateful you're with us. Thanks for spending time. The Retirement Compass. Brad Johansen with Tim and Jeremy, Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Powerful story with a woman who's now been widowed twice, you said. What's most important in widowhood? We talked about it at the beginning. 59 is the average age of a widow now in America. What are we supposed to do when this happens?
I love that question because I think there's a couple different things that we have to consider. One is, if you're the person that's going through, I'm helping multiple people through this right now. It's kind of just part of the job, right? Is when we say to and through retirement, we mean through retirement, okay? That's why we designed the company the way we did. That's why we have a team of advisors. Pretty broad spectrum as far as ages go as well. I've got an advisor that's 28 years old on our team, and he does a great job. I want him to be there through retirement for these folks. One of the things that people often say is when they get close to retirement and they realize that their doctor is older than them and their accountant's older than them and their financial advisor's older than them, they're like, well, these people are going to want to retire sometime too, right? And that's why we've tried to design a team that is going to be there for the long haul. But the folks that I'm helping with right now through this devastating time in their lives, one, they need to be willing to accept help from other people, right? Not try to do everything themselves because they've got a extreme burden that they're carrying.
No
right?
question.
But also, when it comes to the financial side, and I mean this with great respect, I don't want them to get help from anybody but me. My team. That's it. Don't touch anything. It might seem a little like, oh, that seems a little arrogant to say. Here's why. One of the couples I'm helping with right now, spouse just passed away. She went to the funeral home and they said, we're going to help you with this. And the funeral home will oftentimes notify Social Security, so that way that gets updated, and that's great. But they also said, hey, we'll help you with your claim forms for the money that you're going to need, your IRAs, before I knew about it. So they filled out claim forms on the investment accounts, and the companies started sending checks on IRAs, and she started depositing them into their bank account. You see where I'm going with this, Jeremy?
Yes.
Why is that a problem?
Because it's taxable income.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars getting deposited into a bank account. She didn't know any different. She thought they were just trying to help. massive mistake. Thankfully, because this is what we do, we caught it. And I said, no, I'm going to fix this. But it would have been what we call fatal error from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
Tough to undo those things if you don't catch it in time. We did, but that's why I say make sure if something happens, we actually put binders together for our clients that say, in the event something happens to you, stop. Call me.
It's hard to wrap all of this up because where we started, that we're constantly inconsistent. Life is going to continue to happen. It's different for everyone, which is why the inconsistencies will continue to go. Jeremy, give me an idea of, I go back to what you said, we're selling peace of mind.
Right.
The idea that there probably isn't anything in the hundreds and thousands of people that we've dealt with that we have yet to see. And the perspective matters when you have somebody that you can trust to take you through retirement.
Yeah, it's important to have that person that's been putting this plan together and helping you implement it all the way through. That's the critical piece. And that's what was missing with your client. This funeral home had no idea that there was a plan in place, that this is what's supposed to happen. And they're just trying to help, but they're not advisors. They don't do tax planning. They don't do all of those things. They're a funeral home. They're selling the things that they do, and obviously they know what they're doing with that. But the point is, you need to have somebody on your side that's a fiduciary, as Tim has said. And the example that we always share is our clients are the CEO of their plan. We're the CFO. Our job is to make sure that their plan is in place and that they can do all the things that they want to do. That's our job. That's what Stonebridge does for our clients.
And wouldn't you want a CFO at this point to take you to and through retirement? Make the call, 866-256-7778. You've wasted enough time. Thanks for spending time here. Now spend some time on you, in the office, putting together a complimentary plan. You ready for that? We'll see you there. And right back here next time on the Retirement Conversation.